Okay, looks like we're live. Welcome in to the Off-Brand Avalanche podcast, first podcast of the off season, and we're gonna not talk too much about the Avs so much today, as we're gonna look kind of around the league, see what's going on, some of the stories we maybe missed while we were following the Avs run. So we do have one piece of Avs news that I do want to touch on first, though, and that is the snubbing of Joe Sakic in the GM of the Year candidates. They announced the three
Yeah.
GM candidates, and Joe Sakic, not one of them. Which I knew Bednar was overlooked. I didn't expect him to get a nod, even though I thought he maybe deserved one for Coach of the Year. For GM of the Year, I thought
Yeah.
Sakic was a shoo-in, at least to be a finalist.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
for sure.
don't not get it. Go ahead, Zach.
No, it's just pretty ridiculous. He makes major moves in the offseason, moves that benefit us in the playoffs, and doesn't even get a consideration. It's kind of bogus.
Yeah, I mean,
How
go ahead.
my question is how in the world did Lamborello and Nil make it?
Yeah, that's what upsets me the most. I guess Joe
Especially
Pavelski is a
Lamoriello.
great ad, but yeah, especially Lumen. Exactly. Jim Neal, he made a couple moves that are pretty good, like Joe Pavelski for sure.
Yeah.
Great move. Yeah, Lou definitely. I'm not too sure about that though. I don't like he. Joe Sakic could definitely be in that spot.
I mean, Joe Sakic took a team that has been a bubble team 2 years in a row. The year before that, they were the worst team until the Detroit Red Wings this year. They were the worst team in the last decade and a half. And now they're one of the best teams in the NHL. And he doesn't even get a finalist vote. I mean, let's just
Right.
talk about the Avs middle six right now, which has 5 players that weren't on the roster last year, and that apparently building an entire middle six isn't enough.
Including drafting a Calder finalist in Cale McCarr
Exactly. I mean, technically he
and
didn't
making him
draft him
like
this year, but he should still get a little bit of credit for
yeah.
that.
But if you're looking at it like that, how in the world is Lamorello in there then?
Yeah, that's
Because
true. And if
what moves did he make
and the
specifically?
draft pick that Joe Sakic should get credit for this year is Alex Newhook. Because
Yeah.
that is a pick that if we redrafted today would be maybe top 5, definitely top 10. So that doesn't count for anything. I'm just a little bit blown away that Joe Sakic did not make it as a finalist, but I mean, I guess that's just part of living in a relatively small market out west, but not quite in California. We're not going to get some of the
Yeah.
same publicity that some of these other guys will.
Mhm.
Brebois, however you say his name, he did not even build this team. Like he made some, key moves, but it was all on Yzerman. The Lightning would not be in this situation if
Oh
it
yeah,
wasn't for Yzerman.
definitely.
Mhm.
So I guess
So
that's
yeah,
that's where we're at.
are we just gonna see all of our teams get snubbed, or any of our nominations get snubbed?
Probably Quinn Hughes wins the
Probably
Calder.
McKinnon next.
Draisaitl wins
Yeah,
the Hart. Austin Matthews wins the Lady Bing.
yeah. What did you guys think about the Masterton Trophy going to Bobby Ryan?
I was surprised, especially after Lindblom. I guess it was voted before
Oh, yeah.
Lindblom played, but I was surprised for sure.
Yeah, I was reading though that Lindblom wasn't eligible.
Well, he was a finalist, wasn't he? He was nominated as a finalist.
Yeah, but
Oh,
then
but then people didn't
I
vote
don't know. I
for
was
him.
reading something. I'm not even too sure how it went out, but just the fact that he didn't play any games before the voting happened, he wasn't eligible to actually win the award. But then that still wouldn't make sense because
Why was he a
the
finalist?
final
Why didn't
is
they
based
figure
on.
that out
Yeah,
earlier?
I don't know. I don't know. But either way, if that's the case, then that's a little bit weird. But if that is the case, then that would mean that he's pretty much a shoe-in for next year's trophy.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Masterton
and now
trophy.
that he did play, especially because
Yeah.
it's I don't know. That's one of the best stories in hockey this year, so it's good to see. And Bobby Ryan a deserving candidate too. So no knock on him. Definitely deserves the recognition after coming back, and especially I loved the game that he put up that hat trick. So you know, it's it I mean, it's surprising, but both guys are kind of deserving. Lindblom likely gets it next year, so I guess that it is what it is.
Yep. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. I'm pretty sure no one really exactly knows how next year's going to play out, like right now, anyway. So it would not be surprising at all to see a candidate from this year just roll over into next year, just because of the fact that we're playing hockey in like August and September.
Definitely, it's going to be a weird situation. So while we start to watch the rest of these playoffs unfold without the Avalanche, I just want to ask you guys, who are you rooting for? There's 4 teams left. One of them is a division rival, so I'm going to guess you're not rooting for Dallas. You're rooting for Tampa?
I'm going Tampa.
Yeah, I'm going Tampa as well.
I'm also rooting for Tampa.
I can't root for anybody in the West. Yeah.
I like the Islanders too, but Tampa's exciting.
Yeah. Just for the fact that it's like this team has been so good for a while now, at least the last 3 years, they've been an absolute horse. Yeah. And, if they end up going out and winning the Stanley Cup, it would be a little bit of that old like Virginia Cavaliers from a couple of years ago situation from the NCAA,
the revenge
where they get beat in the first round, the 1-16 get upset 1-16, and then come back and win the national championship next season. It'd be a bit like that, in my opinion. Getting swept in the first round in 2019, after an absolutely stellar season in which they ran away with the President's Trophy, to get swept like that, and then to see them come back this year and win the Stanley Cup without Stammer would be freaking awesome.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's funny that even without Stammer, they're probably the best team in the NHL, especially where the star power is concerned. Yeah. Like Braden Point, Nikita Kucherov, Victor Hedman, Vasilevsky. I love the makeup of that roster. Like, it's incredibly impressive to have that much talent.
Head to toe.
Especially, and they're not bad on depth either. Like, they are solid on depth, which is...
No, they are very solid on
depth. Era is insane. Like, how can you be that good at the top and all the way to the bottom in the salary cap era? I don't know.
They just keep finding prize picks. I mean, Braden Point has seriously elevated his game in this playoffs. He's inserting himself into that possible top 5 centers in the league conversation.
He's definitely making a case,
especially because of his two-way play.
Yeah. And I mean, he has been clutch too. He's the one that got it done in that 7 million overtime game. Finally scored that one. He's got a couple other overtime goals. He hasn't just gotten it done. He's gotten it done when his teams really needed him to get it done.
Yep, absolutely. No, that team's really impressive. He is, well, honestly, I think Vasilevsky would be the Conn Smythe winner if Tampa ends up winning the Cup.
That's a tough call.
I'm not entirely too sure what his numbers are, but I know that they're kind of out of this world good right now.
Especially after the Columbus series. That one alone had to propel him quite a bit. So... Yeah, he's got great numbers, and I don't know. I'd have a tough time deciding if I had to vote on the Conn Smythe between Point and Vasilevsky. Right now, I think I'd give the edge to Point, but you could go the other way easily. So
he has a 1. Yeah. I was just gonna rattle this off. He has a 1.92 GAA and a 930 save percentage. Yeah. So that's exactly the type of goaltending that you need.
Oh yeah, that is definitely better than the 8.62 that Francouz put up for us. But that's I mean, I hope Tampa wins. I want to see them get it. It would suck to see them. I don't know. I feel like when you build such a good team, you kind of deserve a cup at some point. And so I want Tampa to get theirs. So kind of on the same tangent. My next question for you guys. Who's the biggest surprise? I mean, I feel like it's pretty easily 2 candidates. Is it the Islanders or the Stars? Who has surprised you the most that they've gotten this far?
I hate to say it, the Stars, but their scoring has been off the charts since the playoffs started. Team. And that's really what shocked me in the Avalanche series was the scoring that they were able to do. If they continue that, we've said it many, many times, they are a playoff, they're a Stanley Cup contender. Yeah, I hate to say it, but the Stars.
Yeah, and it hasn't looked great for them continuing it, as they've got 1 goal in 2 games against Vegas, which means seems
Mhm.
to have returned to earth a little bit. But if they can find their mojo again, they are a legit contender, because a Stars team, as good as they are on holding a lead, if they can get those early leads like they were against the Avalanche, which partly means the Avalanche weren't playing great on defense, but if they can continue to do that, if they can find a way to get some early leads on Vegas like they did in Game 1, they do have a legitimate chance.
Um,
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to go the other way. I'm gonna go with the Islanders. Purely on the fact that if you look at these two rosters side by side and compare the teams on paper, I mean, the Stars should be blowing, like the Islanders out of the water.
Yeah.
But for
Mhm.
whatever reason, just due to insane depth and insane like buy into Barry Trotz's system, the Islanders are also a threat to win the Stanley Cup. Although I know that the first game was against Tampa wasn't exactly what they wanted to see,
Yeah.
but I don't expect that to continue to happen. I mean, honestly, Tampa played a bit of a perfect game. They were just absolutely clicking on all cylinders, and Barry Trotz is gonna figure out a way to like tune that in a little bit. But I mean, dude, if Matt Barzell is like by far your most like elite player on the team, and then the second like is a handful of other
Yeah.
guys like depth
The
pieces,
breakout of
then
Anthony Beauvillier in this playoffs has been impressive. Like,
Mhm.
that man can score goals now,
yeah, it has.
which means it's funny, just another potential star player in that 2015 class. It's getting out of hand.
Yeah, yeah. They just have insane depth, man. And Barry Trotz has everyone clicking on the
Yeah.
same wavelength there. There wasn't any doubt in my mind that the Islanders were going to go out and win that game 7 against the Flyers,
Yep.
just based off of what we saw from the entire series that far. But going into that series, I was like, oh, dude, Flyers got this. And even in like the first series, who did the Islanders play in the first series?
The
Oh, the Caps.
Caps.
Montreal. Oh.
I know you're trying to forget that one,
Um,
Marshall.
yeah, but even it's like, dude, they just outworked the other teams, and really have Barry
Yeah.
Trotz has but been a phenomenal pickup
Barry
for them.
Trotz has been the difference for that team, I think. And, I'm going to have to go with the Stars as the more surprising one, mostly because if you're following the off brand bracket challenge, you know that I actually picked the Islanders to go to the conference final, so now I'm not going to say I'm surprised by it. But the
Yeah,
Stars, I mean, the Islanders have been even better than I had expected. They talking about a team that is buying into the system. That is what the Islanders are. Maybe they're not the most talented team in the playoffs. They've beaten teams more talented than them, but they've done it because clearly they want to be there. That's one of the factors in this bubble is who wants to be in the bubble and who wants to go home. And that's why I think you'll see some of these older veteran teams that already have cups that went out early. But the Islanders clearly want to be there. They're buying into their coach's system, and their coach's system works. So this is a case of just we talk about it in the NFL. Everyone knows that coaching is incredibly important. In the NHL, sometimes coaches are overlooked, and you only look at the players when you're evaluating teams. Barry Trotz is proving to us this year that coaching is a very, very important aspect of this game, and it will
Mhm.
greatly improves your chance to win a Stanley Cup if you have one of the best coaches in the league. But I
yep,
mean, that's just kind of what they are. And Zach, you touched on the Stars, so I'm not going to go too deep into it. But the way that they have come out and found a way to score both against Calgary and against Colorado is incredibly impressive. It was
Mhm.
unexpected, at least to me, for them to come out flying the way that they did and put up 7 goal games, 5 goal games, 4 goal games, put up one of the highest scoring playoff series in recent memory with the Avalanche. And you're talking about a team that is known for winning games 2-1. So it's
yeah,
Yeah.
you never know what's going to happen in the NHL, and that has been proven true this year for sure.
And just did it in game one. Proved they can win a game 1-0
Yeah,
against Vegas, probably the other best team in the West.
yeah, exactly.
So
I mean, yeah. I think Vegas is still going to run away with
I
the
do
series,
too.
though. I'm
mhm.
thinking, I'm thinking it wouldn't surprise me if they win the rest, all three rest of
I
the
think they win
games.
it in 6, but yeah, I'm kind of on the same page. I think Vegas is the better team easily in that series.
Mhm.
Because in a way, they almost play that Dallas Stars type of shutdown hockey, but then they also have like elite level playmakers and just depth that can absolutely kill you. And another guy, it's like Pete DeBoer. He has taken a team to the Stanley Cup with his first season with them. Whenever he's been there, I don't remember who was his first team that he was coaching.
Was it the Sharks?
No, the Sharks.
Oh, wasn't he? He was with the Canucks, wasn't he?
Later. I can't remember right now.
I can't remember either.
I can't remember either. But either way, this is his first season with Vegas, so I mean, it's kind of if you're following that trend.
Oh, New Jersey.
They're looking. Oh yeah,
and
back
the
in the
Sharks.
Kovalchuk era.
You guys were both right. Well, Zach was right.
Yeah, well, I definitely remember the Sharks, but either way, it's kind of crazy that he can do that a third time.
Impressive.
This first season, just energizing the boys, getting them going. There's just nothing like a first impression from Pete DeBoer.
Do you
I guess.
fire him after year one because he's only going to the Cup final in his first year, so send him somewhere else to take them to the Cup final.
They just all the teams around the league are just gonna start throwing 1 year $20 million offers at him.
Exactly, and then he's in the Cup final just constantly.
Yeah,
it's a great plan.
But if there was a Vegas Tampa final, that would be pretty freaking fun.
Oh yeah,
and would honestly be pretty good for the ratings as well.
Exactly, that's the big thing.
No one wants to see
Islanders Stars.
No one wants to see a Dallas. Oh, dude. I don't even know if I'd watch that series at all.
In that series. In 7 games.
Total.
7-1-0 games. That's what would happen if those two went to the finals. So, yeah, I'm definitely hoping for Vegas Tampa. That sounds like a much more fun to watch series.
And Mark Stone, dude, continues to prove that he is a superstar in this league, dude. He has been good, and finally, people started to wake up on him a little bit.
I mean, I feel like
I've been saying this for a while.
High on him for a while now, but yeah, he's definitely taken it to another level, and he's one of the big reasons that Vegas is as good as they are. He's the best player on that team, I think.
Shea Theodore is also making a case for himself too.
I mean, I've said it before. I think Shea Theodore wins a Norris in his career.
Yeah, Anaheim's probably looking pretty. They're probably looking back at that decision to not protect him, and maybe they're definitely regretting that at this point.
That decision since the day after it happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was.
But
Vegas, I love Vegas's roster construction for totally different reasons than I love Tampa's. I love how Tampa has that star power. Vegas, to me, it's incredible how many second tier players they have. They don't have a Nathan McKinnon. They don't have a Nikita Kucherov. They do have a Mark Stone, which is not quite that good, but he's up in that high end of the second tier to me. They've got Max Pacioretty. They've got Alex Tuch. They've got William Karlsson. The list just goes on and on and on. Stastny, Marcia So's solid, Shea Theodore.
Riley Smith. Dude, the names.
How many of those guys can you just rattle off on Vegas's roster? They are so deep with really, really good players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And the one thing that they have going for them that we have seen be a big problem for other teams is they have two goalies. Even looking at some of the teams that are left, the New York Islanders are a team that have gone back and forth because they haven't quite gotten that goaltending consistently. Dallas is on their backup goalie. Teams that are out, you're talking about Boston, who went to their backup and third string goalie. Colorado went to their backup and third string. Vegas having both Marc-Andre Fleury and Robin Lehner has been incredible for them.
Yeah, dude, I would kill to have that tandem for the Avs.
Right.
If we had Robin Lehner and Marc-Andre Fleury both healthy in that series against the Stars.
If we had Philip Grubauer healthy in that series, we would have won.
Yeah.
That's it.
Dude, if we just had 905 goaltending in that series, we would have freaking won.
Yeah.
But no.
I mean, I think we did get up there
Frankie.
just percentage-wise because Hutchinson did have good percentages. Not that he played all that well, but the numbers are a little bit deceiving and say our goaltending was okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but everyone that knows
Anyone
anything
who
knows
watched
that it
the
was
games
not
knows that
okay.
it was bad.
In not only terms of just stats, but of just like you need a clutch save here or there, and the Avs never got
No.
that, like ever.
Hutchinson's save as time expired in Game
I
7
guess that
was pretty clutch. He then gave up a not that great goal in overtime, but he did make the clutch save.
was that puck going to actually count though? I feel like
Maybe.
the time was definitely going to be
Maybe.
out.
That would
Yeah.
have been a Kadri situation. So who knows?
Yeah.
That would have been that would have been
Right.
like we're reviewing that to look at the clock and it's going to take us 4 hours to figure out if it was in time or not. So
Yeah, because oh my god, what a decision
oh
you would
my
have to
game
make at that
7.
point.
Oh, as time that would be tough for sure. And
Yeah.
as we saw, it wouldn't have mattered anyway because
Okay,
Dallas scored in
so
overtime.
I have a couple questions for you
Okay.
guys. Well, we can kind of transfer back to the Avs a little bit here, but if you were to have one roster player, not a goaltender, because I know that the answer would be Grubauer, healthy for that entire season or series, who would it have been?
Ooh, that's a well. Okay,
I'll go a little off the charts here and say Matt Calvert.
I was considering he was one of my 3 that I can't decide between. But yeah, go into
Mm.
detail on Calvert because that's a good one for sure.
Just bringing that energy on the fourth line, which lacked since he was gone in the entire playoffs. LOC was able to bring it up a little bit, but he's nowhere compared to what Matt Calvert brings. Excuse me, to this team. Um, yeah, Matt Calvert just he starts all the lines really. He brings it from the fourth line, and then they just transfer that energy into the first, the second, and then the
Yeah.
third, and then it just restarts.
Definitely. I mean, he has been helpful. I think you especially saw it in the 2 games before they got LOC in that fourth line was not clicking without him. LOC helped a little bit. I'm going to go in a little bit of a different direction, and I know this one's going to be a little bit weird because he only missed 1 game, but I think the Avs win Game 7 if Gabe Landeskog is healthy. You've got your captain. Not only is he an exceptional player that you hope maybe accounts for that one more point that you needed, he's also a guy that I feel like losing him hurts you in a tight game because now who's talking on the bench, especially with Matt Calvert and Eric Johnson both also out. When you're going into overtime, who do you have on the bench to kind of bring the boys in and say,
Yep.
all right, let's focus up, let's get this one goal, whatever. Gabe
Nate
Landeskog is
McKinnon.
big, and I mean McKinnon's a great player, but and he's fine.
It's
He's
not
an
really
okay
his.
leader. He's not a bad leader. He could be a captain based on his talent and a little bit of leadership, but he does it in a different way, and I think that is something that was lacking. But without Landeskog in Game
I would
7,
agree.
Yeah. And Eric Johnson. So that's why my pick would have been Eric
Yep.
Johnson.
Mm.
Just because you would have gotten him back for the entire series, and for the fact that he is a guy that is, we've talked about it before, he's been the longest rostered Avalanche on the team. Brings a bunch of leadership, bunch of leadership to the team. And then not only that, but he's kind of a bit of an anchor on the PK,
Yeah.
and that is
Him and
something that
Calvert
absolutely
both.
haunted us.
I mean, we
Yes.
were murdered on
Um,
the PK in that series.
Yeah.
And if we had either one of them
Yeah.
back, it would have been massive.
Yeah, but then not only that, it's like, dude, you kind of saw from Bednar, he stopped trusting like a consistent
Oh, yeah.
amount of his bottom 4 defensemen. Like he was trying to rely on Cale Makar and Sammy Girard as much as you freaking could, and that's just not really what you want to
Especially
do.
with a young player that hasn't built up that 30-minute a night endurance yet. And Makar played 30-minute nights. Like it was
32
exactly.
played 32 minutes in Game 7,
I mean,
and Sammy G I think played 28.
there was one game, I think it was actually Game 7, that the third best on the Avs as far as minutes played less than 20 minutes, which means that a third of the game, which means that you had Sammy G and Cale Makar out there for almost half the game on their own, and everyone else played less than a third. When you're talking about guys that,
Yep.
if you evenly did it, would all play 20 minutes. So that's Eric Johnson is a minute eater that could have helped in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So it sucks. And then, dude, there could be cases to be made for like Donskoy, and obviously Grubauer is huge. Like that's why I left him off.
Yeah.
Like because he would have been the biggest X factor in the series. Just kind of the stability that he brings on the back end, like Grubauer. Like I feel like in games in which Frankie is playing, he plays like a very like rigid style where it's like, oh my god, this rebound's kind of going everywhere. Oh, thank God he got it.
Yeah.
And that in a way, goaltenders kind of like set the tone for the team. So if you have a stable goaltender back there, like knowing that not this flailing puck is going to like rebound out and you're going to have to do something about it, it gives you a little bit more comfort.
And I'm glad you touch on that because that's one of the reasons I think all along we've said that Frankie's probably not an NHL starter is there's more to goaltending than just the numbers because there's a lot of momentum that goes into it. And if you feel like as a team that every time the puck touches your goalie's pad, there's a rebound, even if he saves it every time, when the other team constantly has that energy where they feel like they're just about to score, you play differently. You play more conservatively.
Yeah.
You try and protect that goalie. Whereas with Grubauer, where every shot is eaten and he's got it covered and he isn't letting out rebounds and it doesn't feel like, for Dallas, for example, it doesn't feel like Dallas is about to put the puck in on every shift, you're going to get better momentum. You're going to get better energy. And that's why it goes beyond the numbers because there's more to it, and that's why Grubauer is an NHL starter when healthy, and Frankie is a very good NHL backup.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point for sure.
Yeah. So I wouldn't necessarily say that Grubauer's entire NHL career has been injury prone, but his tenure with the Avs has been injury
even before
prone and very inconsistent.
I guess part of it is that he didn't win that starting job in Washington, but Grubauer's never played a full NHL season as a starter.
Nope.
Which, I mean, he's
like
not exactly like an old veteran, but he's not exactly young anymore either. And the fact that he still hasn't played a full season is, to me, concerning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
27, I believe.
I guess. Are you guys looking to move away from Grubauer here in the future, or
That's a tough call.
What do you guys think about that?
We're gonna have to have a full goalie pod
specifically on a goalie pod.
Okay.
Yeah,
because that conversation can be.
We'll be
That's
here
an
for
in-depth
3 hours if we
conversation
start that conversation right now for sure.
Yeah.
So we'll do a full pod. Look out for that one if you subscribe if you haven't already to any of our viewers because that one is coming.
Yep. But yeah, I think this team, though, the Avs are going to be a powerhouse next season, no matter what happens this offseason.
I definitely agree.
If you can just figure out how to kill that injury bug, like smash it, get it out of the freaking, throw it out the window or something, zap it away, get that bug out of there.
Yeah.
Because that has been haunting us all season long, and it did. And for a team that was that injury prone, or like that injury prone and that injury riddled for a second round NHL series to push it to Game 7 in overtime, then that's pretty freaking impressive.
Yeah, I mean, you got to love what the Avs have. I think if the Avs make no moves in the offseason except bringing back the free agents they already have, you still think of them as a top 4 contender for the Cup. And if you do something special, like if you go get a goalie or you bring in Taylor Hall, then, I mean, if you bring in Taylor Hall, the Avs are the favorite for the Cup. I don't think that's a controversial statement. That's no. If they're there's a case to be made that they are already. But if you bring in Taylor Hall, they're the favorite. So, I mean, we'll that's another one. We're gonna have to do a full pod on Taylor Hall, but. Let's get a little bit back to kind of around the league. We've been talking about the injury bug as far as it relates to the Avs. Who do you think could I think the obvious answer to this question is the Lightning. They could benefit a ton from getting their injured guys back because they have Steven Stamkos. If they could get Stamkos back, do you see anyone else winning the Cup if they get Stamkos back? I mean, anything can happen, but to me at that point, that's
Vegas would be the contender.
Yeah. But I mean, even then, I have a hard time seeing Vegas beat Tampa if Stamkos comes back and is actually healthy back, can perform at a Steven Stamkos level.
Yeah, after game one, Tampa seems to be firing on full cylinders. So I'm not too sure if I'd be betting against Tampa if they get Stammer back.
Yeah,
Yeah, no
That'd
way.
be hard.
they're a quality team.
No, but there would still be a world where Vegas would
Yeah,
win.
I mean, there's always
Yeah,
a
we've
world.
seen it
We've
before.
seen
Yes.
good teams lose to teams that are worse than them constantly. We've seen it in this year's playoffs.
Yeah.
We've seen it. I would argue we've seen it in the Avs last series. So, I mean,
I feel like that is not a hot take argument right there at all.
exactly.
The better team lost that freaking series.
I mean, we saw Montreal knock out Pittsburgh. We saw Columbus beat Toronto. I mean, you could make the case that Columbus is better, but like regardless, there are tons of instances of a worse team beating a better team. It happens all the time. It's why the Stanley Cup is the hardest trophy in sports to win. But if Stamkos came back, I think that Tampa's a heavy favorite.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. So if you were a betting man right now, who would be your Conn Smythe winner? If like a month from now, if we're looking at it, and whoever wins the Stanley Cup, who's the Conn Smythe winner?
All right, I have two ways to approach this because I am a betting man, and I will be betting on this. I'm betting on Braden Point. I think he's the favorite right now if you're looking at the odds. I love the way he's produced. I think he's been clutch if he keeps that up. And Tampa wins, obviously, that's the big qualifier. I do think Tampa's going to win, so that's why I would put my money on him. So I'm putting a bet on Braden Point. The other guy I am placing a bet on as a dark horse, Anthony Beauvillier. You're going to get really good odds on Anthony Beauvillier. And maybe the Islanders win and it goes to a Barzal or it goes to whichever goalie heats up down the stretch. But Anthony Beauvillier has had a good enough postseason that I think if he scores a few more goals and the Islanders contend, you could hit on really long odds and get Anthony Beauvillier as your Conn Smythe winner.
Yeah, that'd be pretty crazy. Braden Point, obviously, and if I had to go out west, maybe like Mark Stone. It's hard on Vegas because they got so many great
Yeah, like we talked about earlier,
right there
they've got so many second-tier players. They don't have that one superstar.
Right.
Maybe Robin
exactly.
Lehner.
It's hard to pick that one guy. Yes, maybe Robin Lehner.
So I'll give you one from each team for me. On the Stars, you have to go Heiskanen.
Yeah.
Like far and away Heiskanen. No one's really even close on that team. Freaking Kiviranta, maybe. Just kidding.
He scores another Game 7 hat trick.
Game 7 Conn Smythe. Yeah. And then I'll go Robin Lehner on the Stars.
Or on the Knights.
I just feel like sorry, on the Knights, not the Stars. I was just talking about the Stars. Robin Lehner on the Knights. The case can definitely be made for Mark Stone or Shea Theodore. They can go really any of those ways, but I think just a team that's not really like super driven by superstars, it'd be easier to give it to Robin Lehner in that case. And then I'm actually going to say Andrei Vasilevsky for the Lightning. It's under a situation in which Braden Point kind of stops producing and Vasilevsky truly starts stealing series for them. And then it's really hard on the Islanders. And Billy, I think you made up a good point about Beauvillier being like a front runner in that category, but then I'd have to go with the other goaltender again. Did I just pick? Oh no, I didn't pick 4 goaltenders. I said Heiskanen. But I would say Varlamov though for the Islanders, just because of that defensive style of play that they have, and it inflates numbers a lot.
I mean, you pick 3 goaltenders, but we see goaltenders win the Conn Smythe constantly. That's why every year, if you start betting at the beginning of the year, the favorite to win the Conn Smythe is usually the goaltender on the best team. Or if like you're talking about the Avalanche, usually McKinnon's going to be like slightly favored over a Grubauer. But teams that win the Cup, last year the conversation was, is it O'Reilly or is it Binnington? The year before that, it was like, are we going to give it to... That was the Capitals year, right? So that was... They were talking about Holtby and Ovechkin. It's every year that goalie is at least in the conversation.
Yes, all the time. I mean, last year, if the Bruins would have won, it probably definitely would have been Rask.
Exactly. So I mean,
So, yeah.
if you are a gambler and you just want to bet on the Conn Smythe, going with the goalies is not a bad way to go because they constantly win it. Which, if you are a gambler, I'm going to use this opportunity to plug my channel because I just started making some sports betting videos, and I uploaded the first one today. So go ahead, search Billy Bostwick on YouTube. You'll find my channel, and I dropped my best bets of NFL Week 1. So have a look.
Nice. All right.
So, last question here. Or actually, I want to ask you, Marshall, to just. So, you gave us your one on each team. Which one overall, if you have to pick one, who is it?
Andre
That's
Vasilevsky.
a good pick. That's a quality
Just,
pick.
it's like, yeah, Tampa, I think, is going to win the Stanley Cup. And if I had to choose between Andre Vasilevsky or Braden Point, you'd almost be flipping a coin in my head, but or in my eyes. But I think Andre Vasilevsky, if they're going to win the Stanley Cup, it's going to be riding on him. Especially if they get Stammer back, it's going to bring a little bit of the spotlight off of Braden Point, and I do think that Nikita Kucherov starts to heat up a lot too. So
Yeah, Kucherov is another kind of candidate in there because we've talked about Point and Vasilevsky with the Lightning, but Kucherov played great game one and has been great all series, and he's right there with Braden Point in the production. So don't overlook him if the Lightning do win the cup.
yeah, but yeah, my money number one candidate would be Andre Vasilevsky.
That's a good candidate. All right, Zach
Yeah.
or Marshall, do you guys have any other things you want to talk about around the league before we take off for today?
No,
I
not too
have
many
nothing.
stores. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
I don't have anything right now.
Yep. All right. So we're all rooting for the Lightning. So let's go Lightning. Let's hope they win the cup. Thank you to all our viewers for watching. If you're still in that live chat, go ahead, hit that like button while you're here. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. If you aren't listening to this live, we stream live on YouTube, typically around 5 or 6 p.m. So check that out. And if you like just listening to the audio, we are on all kinds of platforms, anywhere you find your podcast, whether that's iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play. You can find us. So check us out, and we'll see you in our next